So our topic is all about straight lines. And today we want to be able to find the gradient of straight lines. Gradient is a fancy word for the slope, how steep it is. So that's here for you. Gradient is also called slope. It tells us how steep the line is. Gradient is given the symbol M. I guess I didn't want to call it G because a G looks a little bit too close to a Y, and our equations have a lot of Y's in them. It says here, it may have come from the French word mountain, and mountains are steep, and maybe the French word for mountain starts with a G, I don't know. Anyway, an M, sorry, M for mountain. We can use the formula, G for gradient equals rise over run. But instead of gradient, you can actually just say M equals rise over run. That's the formula that I like to remember. You also should be able to tell by looking at a line if it is sloping uphill like this green line that I'm drawing here. If it is sloping uphill, then that is a positive gradient. That's a plus for a positive. If it is going downhill, and this is as you're going from left to right across the page, if it's going downhill, then that is a negative gradient. So you might have to adjust the number that you get if you know that it's meant to be negative, and I'll show you how to do that. Also in these dot points down here, it says if you have a horizontal line, so that's like the ones we were drawing yesterday, horizontal lines, then that has a gradient of 0. Okay, because there is no rise, it's flat, 0. A vertical line is undefined, and that's because it has no run. Okay, if there's no run, rise over run, there's nothing on the bottom, and that causes an error. If you try to type something with 0 in your denominator on your calculator, it says, nope, sorry, can't do that. So it's undefined. If two lines are parallel, then their gradients are equal. So that's the gradient of the first one is equal to the gradient of the second one. So that's why M1 equals M2. That's what parallel means. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to be able to give you a straight line, and we have to be able to find the gradient. So the first thing you want to do is you want to find two nice points where your line goes through the grid nicely, like in the corners. You don't want to pick, you don't want to pick a spot like here, where you go, oh, there's a point on the line, but you're like, okay, is that 0.6 or is it 0.8? You're just kind of guessing, right? So that's not a good point to pick. You want to pick a point like this one, which is going very nicely through the grid line that way and that way, both grid lines. Okay, I need two of them though. So I'm going to use that one, and I'm also going to use the origin, because the origin is a great, easy point, going through 0, 0 there. Once you have two nice points, from the highest point, you draw a line going straight down, and then a line horizontally across to your other one. And it makes a right angle triangle. So there's your little right angle in there. Now we need our formula. Here it is. M equals rise over run. M stands for gradient, remember. The rise is how many spaces high my triangle is. So this side here is my rise, the vertical line. How many spaces is that line? 2. Yes, 2. So the rise is 2. The run is this one across the bottom. How big is that line? How many spaces? Just 1. So the rise is 2, the run is 1. Always do a check for the uphill and downhill. Is that an uphill sloping line or a downhill sloping line? Up, which means it's going to be positive. Okay, so if it's positive, that's good, because those numbers are all positive. So 2 divided by 1 is equal to 2. My gradient is equal to 2. That's done. All right, let's try it again. Here's another one. Another graph. I need to find 2 points. Look for nice ones. And if you make a different size triangle to the person next to you or to me, you should still get the same gradient once you've done the divide, the rise divided by the run. Okay, it will work out the same. So I'm going to choose that point there. Looks like a nice one. Goes nicely through the grid. And how about I make it a big triangle? I'm going to use this one all the way down here. Okay, 2 nice points. You could have used this one here in the middle. It will also work, but I'm going to choose those 2. Just need 2. So to make the triangle, from the highest dot, you go straight down and then horizontally across to the second dot. Should always be tracing along your grid lines when you do that, making a right angle triangle. Our formula is m for gradient equals rise over run. What is the rise of that triangle? That's the vertical line. How many? So you're counting spaces, like 1, 2. Okay, so you don't count each individual line, you're counting how many spaces there are. So the rise is 2. Now do the same thing for this, counting the spaces for the run. How many? So start 1, 2, 4. So there's 4 spaces for the run. Is that line uphill or downhill? As I'm coming from the left, is it going up the hill? It's going down, that's right. And downhill means that gradient needs to be negative. So if it is a downhill sloping line, you just put a minus sign in front of that fraction that you just found. So it's minus 2 over 4. Can you simplify the 2 over 4? Type it in your calculator, press equals, what do you get? Come on. No one's going to type a fraction in their calculator. What'd you get, Jack? Just type in, you can even put the minus sign in there, minus 2 over 4. That's right. You're simplifying your answer to be minus a half. Question 3, we're doing the same thing, it's just that we don't have grid lines on these ones. But if your line makes a triangle with the axes, you can just use this triangle that's already here. See that triangle? Makes a beautiful little right angle triangle right there. What is the rise of that triangle? How many spaces would there be? From here to there, how much space is that? That number there's an 8, this is going to be 0, so how big is that line? 8. Okay, so m equals rise over run. The rise is 8. What about the run? Don't do the negative part, but just it's 3 spaces. Okay, so just the 3. Okay, because the reason we don't want a negative is because is that a positive sloping line or a negative sloping line? Positive, it's an uphill, so we definitely don't want any negatives in there. Can I simplify the 8 over 3? It doesn't simplify. You could turn it into a mixed numeral. So if I go 8 over 3, see it doesn't simplify, but shift SD, I could turn it into a mixed numeral. So it could be 2 and 2/3. But I'd be happy with either one of those answers as well.
How do you work out what's the difference? If the number on the top is bigger than the number on the bottom?
No, it's got nothing to do with these numbers. If you start on this side of the graph, as you're coming across, if it's going up, that's a positive. Okay, the other way is from here, as I'm coming across, it's coming down. So that's negative. Okay, question 3b. Can you make a triangle for that? Can you choose 2 dots to make a triangle from for that line? I'm sure you could try and be creative and make some triangles out this way, but that's not how we did it. We always had to go down and across to another point, which is not going to work. You don't, no, unfortunately it's not going to work. This one I gave you a special situation for. Come back here. Remember these dot points up here? If it's horizontal, it has what gradient? If it's vertical, it has undefined. So as soon as you see that one, it's a vertical line. So its gradient is undefined. We just can't find it. So you just write next to that, undefined. Okay, the gradient between 2 points. I'm going to give you a formula here. So to find the gradient between 2 points, we know our formula is rise over run normally, but the rise can be found by subtracting the y values, y2 take y1, divided by x2 take x1. So what I'm going to do, each one of those points, my first point has an x value, which I'll call x1, and a y value, which I'll call y1. x1, y1. My second point is going to be x2, y2. Now this is a notation we're going to use in a few other types of questions coming up, so it's a good one to practice. I can substitute those into my formula, that formula I just gave you, y2 take y1 over x2 take x1. What was y2? What number? The 1. So it's going to be 1 minus, what was y1? 2. Good, then I had a fraction line. What's x2? Yes. Minus, what was x1? 3. Perfect. Now I just want to use my calculator to work out what that equals. So type in your fraction button, 1 minus 2 on the top, and 0 minus 3 on the bottom, and it gives you the gradient, which is equal to 1/3. And using that formula means you don't have to worry, oh, was that one going up or was that one going down? It will actually come out positive or negative, whatever it needs to be. So that one's a positive one. Let's try that formula again. So it's labelled in the same way. This is going to be x1, y1, x2, y2. I'm going to use that same formula. M equals y2 take y1 over x2 take x1. Okay, let's sub in to substitution. What is y2? Yep, the 3 minus the y1, which is 1, over, what's x2? Minus 1. Okay, does everyone other than Will understand what I'm doing here? Because he's the only one telling me, no, it doesn't make sense? So, I'm using this formula, so x2 for the first thing, the y2, is the 3. Okay, come here. So it's 3, and take away the y1, which is 1. You're getting the numbers from here. So I'm just doing the bottom now, which is x2 take x1. x2 is the minus 1, and then I want to subtract x1, which is 4. So minus 4. Once you've got that substituted in, you just need to type in your calculator. So fraction button, 3, take away 1, over, minus 1, minus 4. Oh, I think I just need to fix that minus sign. Try that. There we go. Minus 2 over 5. Okay? Your turn to try. So starting on the next page, there's lots and lots of questions here where there is a graph. You can see, I'm even helping you out. Can you see the blue dots on there? You can use those to help you make your triangle. So you start with the top dot, go straight down and horizontally across to the second dot. And for every single one of these pictures here, you're going to be using m equals rise over run. So do your working out just to the right-hand side like I am. So I'll do the first one with you. What's the rise? Counting the spaces. 1 space for the rise. What's the run? Oh, careful, which one is it? 6. Is it positive or negative? Sloping? Uphill or downhill, that means? Positive. Oh, no, you're right. What did you say, Will? It is negative. As I come down, it's coming downhill as I go across left to right. So all I have to do is put a minus sign in there. Minus 1 over 6. Is that something that I can simplify on my calculator? It's already a 1 on the top. Okay, 1s don't simplify down any further. So that's going to be it. Done. Go on to the next one.
Can you simplify the 6 alone?
No, it has to be able to be top and bottom. So m equals rise over run. Your turn. Go for the second one. Make your triangle straight down from that top dot. Horizontally across to the second one. And be very careful with your counting. Counting the spaces. Count the rise.